Hi, thank you all so much for being here today. I'd first just like to start off by saying thank you so much for the opportunity that you all have provided for me this last semester as you supported me through taking this business communications course at Front Range Community College. Today I'd just like to share some of the things that I've learned in that class and how I would like to see them utilized in the future. There's a quote by Malcolm X that goes, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." And I think that by you guys letting me take this class and supporting me all the way through it, you've definitely prepared me to take on today as well as the problems that we will encounter tomorrow. So one of the main topics that we discussed in the class was the foundations of communication. So as we've gotten into a more technologically advanced world, communication has changed significantly to keep up with these advancements. Businesses such as ours and people need to be able to adapt to these changes to maintain good relationships with customers and the clientele that we serve. And even though that we've become more digitally connected, the importance of face-to-face interactions is also still vitally important as it adds a level of interpersonality to any business transaction. So making sure that we are still keeping up with the times and making sure that our messages are going out and being received well is going to be very important moving forward. Another thing that has kind of changed is the workplace diversity. As our workforces become more diverse, as a result of us being more inclusive as both a corporate culture and as a society, we're going to be interacting with different groups. So making sure that we can adapt our messages to overcome language barriers and cultural differences is going to be vitally important to make sure that all of our clientele are being treated fairly and that we are giving them all the same experience. So with that, the writing process that has gone along with this hasn't changed much. It's still pretty much the same as before. The receiver has to get the message from the messenger that they've encoded, and it's all about interpretation. So making sure that our communications are easy to interpret for our clientele is going to be vitally important as we move forward. And then maintaining accuracy and accountability with our messages. There's multiple different ways that we can do this. One of the ways is known as the 3x3 writing process, in which there's 3 different steps that you take to get the message as clear across as you possibly can. So you pre-write, so you do some research, you look for what your problem is, how you're going to address it, and then you write your message. You figure out what's the best communication, so memo, email, whatever your medium may be. And then going back in the second step and revisiting it and revising it and making sure that it's what you want, and then kind of making sure that it's all clear at the end before you send it out to your recipient. Another thing that's emphasized in the writing process is cutting out phrases and useless information to make sure that the message comes across clearly and that only the essential information is used. So not using filler words that are going to be confusing or filler sentences that don't add much to the meaning and just kind of getting straight down to the point. Another thing that goes along with communicating with our customers is also communicating with each other. So communication in the workplace has also changed within the last few decades and as we get more technologically advanced. Typically, it takes the form of short emails, memos, stuff that's sent pretty regularly. But these communications, however, are not immune from having to be effective while still being in such a short format. We need to make sure that as a business that we are communicating effectively between each other so that way we don't have to send multiple emails over and over again or waste time re-communicating something that could have been just explained thoroughly in the first place. Another thing that we have to be aware of is the online presence of both future employees and current employees, as our online presence has gotten greater with the invention of social media and blogs and all those sort of things. Making sure that we are still maintaining a professional personality on the internet, as we don't want to be presenting ourselves out into the world as something that we're not and something that could backfire on the business. Another thing about communicating in the workplace is kind of figuring out how to encode a message depending on if it's positive or negative, kind of determining the direct or indirect process for doing that. In the direct process, you come right out and say it. If it's something that's going to be well received, going ahead and just saying right out what you mean, explaining it thoroughly. And with the negative news, still coming out and saying it fairly clearly, but using the indirect strategy to diffuse the message. So say something why the message is coming and then giving them the bad news, but nonetheless still communicating with each other effectively the news that we're trying to get across. Another thing that we talked about is how to give an effective report proposal and how to do effective presentations. A very crucial part of our business is being to write out reports effectively. We're analyzing data and making connections between data and background information to make sense all the time. So making sure that we are able to format and put out good reports is going to make us overall better communicators in every sense as we are sharing that information with our clientele. With proposals and presenting, being able to get a good relationship in those two aspects, making sure that we have good presentations and that we have good proposals for business endeavors that we take on moving into the future. Definitely want to make sure that our skills as business communicators are up to par to make sure that our messages are getting out effectively and clearly. Another thing that we need to be kind of aware of is the importance of communicating with both prospective clients or clients and future employees. There's the vital importance of resumes, how important they are, how to recognize a professional looking resume, and how to effectively interview people to make sure that they are up to par with what we need and how to conduct a successful interview, both what we expect from ourselves and what we expect from the people that we are interviewing in the company. So being able to communicate with future employees is super important to the success of our company as we need more employees to grow as we get bigger and bigger. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say again, thank you so much for everything that you guys have done for me. I really hope to implement some of these things that I've talked about as we move forward and become just better communicators overall. I think that as a business, we are definitely struggling in some of these places, but we will definitely be able to get through it as long as we can implement some of these newer techniques that are going to make communication across all facets of our business more effective. So thank you all so much. If anybody else has questions, I'm more than willing to ask them. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.